Hi guys, this is Rachel, the Modern Shaman. Again, here to do a question and answer kind of time here. Before I jump into the question, I'll just remind you, if you'd like to reference these videos later, just subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is the Modern Shaman. And then also, if you'd like to get in contact with me, you can always visit my website, which is just themodernshaman.net. All right, so here we go. Today's question: how do you remote view something? When do you use remote viewing, and do you have any tips for those of us wanting to try? Okay, yeah, I do, sure. Part of my Psychic 101 class is kind of helping people be able to do this and practice some techniques and just work through some activities to help develop your remote viewing abilities. And for those of you guys that don't know that term, remote viewing just refers to being able to move your consciousness or your perspective behind someone else's eyes, essentially moving your perspective into someone else's body. So you see behind their eyes, you process through their brain, and you're experiencing being them in a sense. You still have your awareness in terms of kind of like metacognition of you processing being them. So you don't fully leave yourself, but you have the ability to move your consciousness into that perspective. In the shamanic community, we call this second sight. It's been around forever. And the first time I became kind of conscious of working through this technique and using it, I had been using it just intuitively for a long time, since I was a child, but I wasn't conscious of what I was doing until I had a past life hypnosis session that I was doing years and years ago, and I saw myself as a shaman in a past life, and I was preparing my tribe essentially for our death and for kind of an oncoming military attack on our land and our peoples. And so I saw myself as that shaman, and then suddenly in that life I changed perspectives, and I was this military leader leading my men and kind of coming up with a strategy on how to kill these Native Americans and the shaman that I thought I was. So I was kind of, tripped out, like, what in the world? I went from this person to this person. Who am I? Am I the military leader, or am I the shaman? And so through processing that with my guides and just on my own, I realized I was the shaman using my second sight to help prepare my own tribe of the strategy of those that were coming to kill us, and to kind of help us prepare for how they were going to come in and when they were coming. And so I was projecting my consciousness into that of the military leader, and that was part of the way that I helped guide my own community. And so I saw myself using it, and I was like, okay, this is what I was doing. I became very conscious of the fact that I was doing it purposefully in that life, and I could utilize that in this life. So, how do I use it? Today, I use it all the time. Again, I do this pretty much intuitively, and I think a lot of people do without realizing it, or even empaths who completely feel like they feel someone else's emotions and experience, so much so that they almost feel like they are that other person. They can completely align with their energy, so much so that they feel everything that person's feeling. They feel it in their physical body, they feel it in their mental body and their emotional body, and that essentially is remote viewing. Again, you can develop it more and more and strengthen that and your confidence in that. And I'll give you some tips in a minute. But again, a lot of people do this, I think, intuitively. Okay. I use it all the time with clients. Obviously, if I'm doing like a homicide or missing person case, I use it every time. to see kind of what happened and what went down, and to see it from the perspective of multiple people in that situation and their reasoning behind why they did certain things and how they were thinking when they were doing certain things. I also use it with clients a lot in relationships when they're unclear of what the other person wants or what they're thinking or just where they're coming from. There's communication, and there's disharmony in that way. Then I can go into, say, the girlfriend's body and see things from their perspective, watch a fight that they had from living in that body and processing it the way that they processed it. So then I can come back and communicate that to my client and say, this is how I felt like they processed that event. It may be, different from the way you processed it. Or then I'll then go into the body of my client and watch that same event from their perspective, and then try and help them see how there was, a discommunication or misunderstanding in the way they were both interpreting the same event. It's helpful in that way. It's also helpful when I have friends or family or loved ones that are autistic, or I'm helping those who have parents with Alzheimer's, or those that don't have a regular mental, I shouldn't say regular, but just a different mental processing of life. And to be able to really fully understand where they're coming from, it's so much easier for me to just put myself into their body and that brain and feel life from behind their eyes. I gain so much more perspective and understanding in that way. Yeah. And tips. Let's move on to tips. So, if you're wanting to develop this, what I would recommend is that you start in a space that has this intention, that you set that intention, maybe a meditation time or right before you're going to bed, and you kind of decide what body you're going to go into, or what, if it's going to be a past life, or if you're going to go into someone that and try and feel into their experience. Maybe your child is autistic and you want to understand them better. So you set the intention to move your consciousness into their body. So you would do this when your physical body is at a very peaceful and relaxed state. Again, meditating or taking a few calming, centering breaths first, and getting yourself into a space where you're not so focused on your own body. You're not conscious of it. You're not cold. You're not uncomfortable or having to move around. So you can just focus on the mental. And then you close your eyes and you set your intention to move and to connect with the vibration of that individual at that time. And then you just go there. You settle into it. You think about them. And then you push your energy, essentially, through thinking about it, you push your energy into that person, into that body. And you sit there for a while. When I first started doing this, I felt more than I saw. So I used a lot of my feeling, kind of gut, intuitive feel about the other person. I didn't always open my eyes and see what they saw at the beginning because it tripped me up a little bit. And so I would just feel into all my other emotions. So I would sit in that body and I would just feel like, okay, what do I feel like is going on in this body? How am I thinking right now? Am I angry? Am I hungry? What am I thinking about? And then I would just let myself be in that brain for a little bit. What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I hear around me? And then from there, I would kind of go into the experience. Say I projected myself into a particular moment where they're just sleeping or something. Okay, how does the bed feel? Do I feel comfortable? What am I seeing? Oh, I'm seeing blackness. So are my eyes closed? I would go look in the senses and just kind of try to understand what it is I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing. Again, fully having the intention that this is not my sight, this is someone else's sight. If you're in that experience and you're constantly analyzing it, it'll pop you right out of it. You're not going to be able to stay in that space. So you have to almost extend yourself like an actor or like someone who's using their imagination, their third eyesight, someone who is fully giving themselves over to that other person's experience and not trying to discern from their mental perspective, if that makes sense. Just go there, be there, take in all the senses that you can. If you feel like, oh, like I said, I'm lying down. Am I on a couch? This is pleather. What does this feel like? Oh, I can hear it kind of squeaking every time I move around. What am I wearing? Am I, do I have a white t-shirt on? What does this feel like? Is it cotton? Is it, you're feeling into this experience and just observing it and kind of getting yourself in that body and used to being in that body. And then if you feel yourself coming out of it, or after a while, come back into your regular body or wake up from your meditation or whatnot, if you set a timer, and write about it. That's what I suggest. At least those are the tips that I give to my students. So then write about the experience. Go through each of the senses. What did I see? What did I hear? What did I smell? What did I taste? How did I process things? What was it like being in their mind? What was it like being in their physical body? Some people have physical ailments, so you'll feel it. You'll feel suddenly like very nervous or angst or depression that wasn't yours before you got into that body. So just take note of all that and then keep doing it. Keep practicing. I think the more and more you do it, the more you will have confidence and be able to validate your own experiences in that. It took me a while to share these with other people because I think I didn't know, I knew what I was feeling, but I didn't necessarily know if that's what they were feeling. So it took a while of someone saying, oh yeah, that is like my dad. My dad does wear shirts like that all the time, or, talking to someone if I'm going into a client's body that's right in front of me because I want to feel how they're, maybe I'm doing medical intuition. I want to feel what's going on in their body. So I just project myself into their body and then I can say to them, oh yeah, I feel that tension. It's like your stomach is like a total knot and it feels like there's an ulcer right here and da-da-da. Then they can say to me right then, yes, that's true. I feel this. This is what the doctor said. Da-da-da-da. And so there's automatic confirmation. And again, obviously that gives you confidence and validation in what you're seeing and feeling. So just keep at it at that level and keep practicing. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. So I hope that's helpful to you. And if you're trying to do this, I'd love for you to just keep me posted on your adventures and what you're learning and anything that you want help with specifically, or if something's tripping you up. But otherwise, be blessed.